employee retention credit is just an amazing benefit out there. And it's in response to COVID. You know, have businesses been affected by this? And so any business that was either had a reduction in revenue in 2020 over 2019, or
Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, and this is the Business Talk Library. Now, today I have a great guest on because a lot of businesses are trying to figure out credits, and they're trying to figure out what advantages that exist for them when it comes down to their taxes. So I brought on a great guest that focuses a lot on helping businesses take advantage of the tax credits that are out there that you may not necessarily be aware about. I mean, in fact, CPA firms actually send their clients to him because he knows it so well. So welcome to the show, Randy.
Well, thank you. Wow, you really built me up there, but I appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Randy, before we jump into the details of all the great work you're doing from your firm to the great articles, I mean, you've been featured in great publications. So, before we jump into all that, tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I am a CPA. Not only do I work with CPA firms, but I am a CPA. I came out of public accounting. Let's see, 2006, I had merged my firm in with another firm and took that opportunity to, it's a terrible time for me to say this, but escape tax season. I got to stay in tax without having to be part of tax season. And CPAs in general have had a never-ending tax season for about 15 straight months now. So that's why I'm saying it's not the greatest time to say you've escaped it. But started Trimerit is the name of the firm, and we deal with specialty taxes, R&D tax credits, cost seg, 179D, 45L. And one of the biggest passions I have right now is the employee retention credit, which is out there to help employers through what we're going through currently. So that's been a lot of fun.
Gotcha. One of the things I find interesting, like as you start a business or any type of business you're in, is really getting comfortable kind of figuring out your niche and like narrowing it down, because it seems to be, I talk to so many entrepreneurs, there's this pull of like, well, if I focus too much, then I'm going to miss out on things. Like, how did you get comfortable, narrowing it down to the tax incentives?
So it was not, it was not really probably my first choice. So in public accounting, I was proud to call myself a generalist. I did tax returns for the most part, not a lot of auditing, but tax work. I was proud to be part of the tax group, but also that I could do every different part of the tax group, which tax preparation, but nobody can. I mean, there's so much in the tax code you can't, but I like being that generalist, I thought, until I started Trimerit. And then when I saw that you could dig into a small portion of the tax code and dig deep and become an expert and help people, I mean, with credits and incentives, we're bringing money back into people's businesses right now. And once I saw that, it was just no going back. And now we're 15 years into it, and it's just been great. But yeah, everybody's different. For me, a niche ended up being my passion. And probably as we talk today, you'll probably hear that it took me years to figure out a lot of different things in business. The one of them being that the niche was the way I should go. It took me a long time to figure that out, but once I did, it was extremely important. But yeah, I can see public accounting in general probably having a big need for more people in niche, less generalist, just because there's so much going on, not just in tax, and especially in tax right now, but not just tax, but A&A as well, accounting and auditing, especially with AI coming and all the technology out there. You really need to be, I think, that niche specialist, or firms are going to need that niche specialist to be competing going forward.
No, I definitely find that to be very true. I know a couple of weeks ago, we had one of the subject matter experts from the AICPA that focuses on digital asset accounting. And just in talking to her, I'm like, man, there's so much depth to this that even when I think back to when I was in public accounting and auditing, I'm like, there's no way in the world that I would have been suited to be able to audit digital assets.
No, no, me neither. And I can't even talk about auditing because I never enjoyed that aspect of things. We need good auditors. Auditors' roles are going to be changing dramatically, and they already are. But just with all that technology and the things that they have to audit now as well. So yeah, it's the need is out there, and it's an interesting time for public accounting.
Gotcha. And I guess, as you kind of you mentioned about, you tried a couple things. It took you a couple years to really, get comfortable that, hey, this was your niche. Were there any other areas that you tried to pursue that just you were like, this isn't the one?
Yeah, I could go with a couple different ways with that. So being an entrepreneur, I usually can say that correctly. I think I got it right there. Being an entrepreneur, has probably always been in my blood. So trying things has always been part of like what I like to do. I mean, I started my first business at 16 years old. A window washing company that I continued doing through most of college, and really, was hiring friends, paying them probably 3 to 4 times what minimum wage was, and we were all making good money, and it was a good time. So being an entrepreneur was an important thing to me. Trying different things is so important. I personally get bored um, in business if it's not exciting, if there's not something new. That's why this employee retention credit has been important to me as well, because it's just this new and exciting thing. But when we started Trimerit, um, R&D was the thing, and that was a R&D tax credits for people wondering what I'm talking about with R&D. But R&D tax credits, extremely valuable benefit out there, and so that was it. I actually avoided other services, cost segregation. I avoided that, even though we were set up to do it. We hired engineers, and engineers are the ones that are out doing the cost segregation studies, which is basically just depreciating a property quicker. But I avoided that because I wanted to stick in this one niche. So I pretty quickly realized the niche was it, to the detriment of the business, probably, because I should have added other niches quicker. And so that's one thing, like I said, I mentioned earlier, there's things I've learned that I probably should have learned quicker. And one of them was that, great niche. It was my thing immediately when I tried it, but there's other niches that we could definitely get involved in. And I've changed that now. This employee retention credit, 2 months ago, this really didn't exist as a niche, and now we are full blast into it. So I've learned, I'm 58 years old. It took me a long time to learn a lot of things, but there's another interesting thing, but we could probably get on that, but just learning within your firm is important too, I think. So you want me to expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious on that because, a lot of people feel like, once when you're in the bigger public accounting firms, like they have their learning process or their training process built into like every year, you're going through almost kind of like a prescripted training kind of program until you get, very far along. But when you go into your own firm, it's just like, how long did it take you to start, building in your own kind of development and growth within your firm?
So from a firm in general, so the first, 10 years of business, it was just, let's get this going. Let's build it. Let's do this. But this is what I was talking about. And that's a great question. Again, another learning aspect to me. I've learned, and again, it took me a long time. I've learned that my skill set is starting and growing a business. My skill set is not managing that business. That bores me. And as I said before, I get bored easy. And when I get bored easy, it just, I'll shut down a little bit. But it took me the longest time to realize that. So for the first 10 years of business, I was also managing partner of the business, just, almost by default when we started. And my partner and I, he was an engineer, I was a CPA. I came out of businesses that had managing partners, was starting a new one. That was the role I took. At the same time, while we're growing it, I was also out generating business as well. But it's important, I think, to realize at some point what your passions and what your skill set is. And it took me a long time to realize managing the business is not my passion or skill set. And so from a growth standpoint internally, that took me a while, and personally it took me a while to figure that out. But that is something I would point out to people, is follow your passion, and your passion can be still within your business. It's just, what portion of that business are you passionate about? And for me, it's really starting aspects of the business and growing those aspects, not managing them.
Mhm. No, I think that's a very good point because I've come across some people I think that are a little uncomfortable with accepting that reality to where they hear about, hey, an entrepreneur has to wear all the hats and they're trying to wear it. And it's just like, but you're not making as much progress. Maybe you should staff that part out, or maybe you should bring on a partner who is good at that. So yeah,
Yep.
I think that's great advice.
Yep. No, for us, it was great because my partner who started Trimerit, now we have multiple partners, but the one I started Trimerit with, that is his skill set, and he is really good at it. And I personally should have recognized that a lot earlier than we did. I think he did recognized it, and it took him a while to convince me that that was the way to go. So, but yeah, it's important to, and not every startup can do. I mean, you can't as a startup. You have to, like you said, you have to wear all hats. I mean, you just don't have the money. I mean, you can't go out and hire a CFO just because you don't like that aspect of the business until you get to a certain point where then you can do that. So, but you can taking that back, you can outsource some of that, fairly inexpensively too.
Mhm. Gotcha. Now I want to go back to the credit that you guys are really focused on now, because I mean it's the newer credit. So what are the types of businesses that should reach out, give you guys a call if they're curious, like, hey, I wonder if this credit applies to us.
So this is I could talk for this for 2 hours, and I know we have a time limit, so I'll try to do a couple minutes. But the employee retention credit is just an amazing benefit out there, and it's in response to COVID. Have businesses been affected by this? And so any business that was either had a reduction in revenue in 2020 over 2019, or was shut down by a government mandate. They were told that they couldn't operate for a certain amount of time, or they had to operate at reduced capacity, or their ability to operate was affected by another business being shut down by the government. So you can go deep into that. But as long as you're affected by a government shutdown in some way, or had a reduction in revenue, and there's certain percentages, but we don't need to go into that. Then there's the opportunity to get a credit for anybody that you continue to pay. And the credit is fairly large. It's in 2020, it's up to $5,000 per employee, up to. In 2021, it can be as much as $28,000 per employee. And so between the 2 years, we're looking at a potential $33,000 per employee tax credit, refundable tax credit, which never happens. Refundable tax credits are very, very rare. And refundable means you can offset, and this is payroll taxes, you can offset all your payroll taxes. And if there's excess money, they're going to send you a check. And that's why it's so exciting right now. It's helping businesses through the pandemic continue to operate. And so, the no-brainers for this one are the restaurants and the bars and the theaters and the gyms that were ordered to shut down or at least reduce capacity. That's the no-brainers. But there's plenty of businesses up and above that'll still qualify for the credit.
Gotcha. No, I think that is a very good point. I mean, and because a lot of times when credits come out, I think some people are so unaware to, what that credit entails to even know if they should be asking about it. So thanks for clarifying that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I enjoy talking about those things.
So what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if if they're like, hey, I think I need help with that type of credit? How do they reach out to the firm, and how do they get in touch with you guys?
Sure. I appreciate you asking. So the firm is Trimerit. Actually, if you were looking online, you can see it on my sweater, I guess. I'm promoting apparently, which is TRI-MERIT, and then .com is our website. So the website has everybody's contact information on it. You can find information on me. Obviously, we're on all the social medias. My most common is LinkedIn, where I'll post some things, but Facebook and Twitter and other things as well. So that's really where you can find information about us.
Awesome, awesome. And now speaking of, like I said, things that you're posting on social media and the website, you also have a podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing there?
Yeah, so I do, and it's called the Unique CPA, sticking with the CPA theme, but it's not tax and accounting. That would bore me just to sit and talk tax and accounting all day, unless it's credits. I enjoy talking that, but it's more unique stories within public accounting, management styles, techniques, uh, obstacles people have dealt with and how they overcome it, uh, educating people on different, one of my most popular ones was basically almost a motivational speaker type guy that was just talking about how people can cope with what they're going through during the pandemic. And so
Wow.
it's stuff like that it's not, X's and O's of taxes and FASB and accounting issues. So that's the Unique CPA. And you will be a guest on there shortly. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. I mean, I think it's always a pleasure, like I say, when you can, as a CPA, when you can talk about, the non-technical details of it.
Oh yeah, for
I think
sure.
people start to realize, we're actually human beings, not like numerical robots.
Yeah, that you get in the technical and people's eyes start rolling back in their heads, and or they just slowly inch away from you. And we're not going to get into a tax discussion now. So yeah, try to make it more fun than that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, one other thing I wanted to ask about is, recently you had an article in the Accounting Today publication. I mean, which is a very widely dispersed publication in the accounting field. And there were a couple things that I read in there that I thought were like, wow, it's really good. And the first one was where you talked about the three fundamental questions. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, and I'm not going to take full credit for those questions because I stole it from a friend of mine, John Sensiba. John is managing partner of a CPA firm out in the San Francisco area called Sensiba San Filippo. Great guy, but he told me that this is how they looked at things within their firm, and basically they want to be, the best people, the best firm, attract the best people they can, do the best they can for the clients. So when they were looking at what they do, they asked themselves three questions, and one was, if I was a client, what would I want from my CPA firm? So, it's, focus on the client. It's the client. What do they want? They want someone passionate about their industry. I think his example is manufacturer. If I am a manufacturer, I want somebody passionate about manufacturing in my CPA. I want somebody with obviously the knowledge that's going to help me save taxes, because for most small businesses, that's the most important thing. Let's minimize taxes and maximize money back into the business. And then, so that, and then obviously that knowledge is extremely important. So that was a key aspect of things. And that's what I try to think about when we're doing our business as well. So I just got this from him 2 years ago. And it's really rang true with me. So that was one. Two, it's important your people. So if I'm a college graduating senior right now and I wanted to get into public accounting, would I want to go work for me? I mean, is that an interesting place? Is that a place where I can see career growth, a clear path to where my future is? Is it transparent in how I get there? Do I have a mentor that's going to help me to answer any questions, that's going to be responsible for me, that's going to be passionate for me as well as the firm? And then I think we've learned now in the last year or two, just flexibility, as well. Can I work from home? Can I work remotely? Can I, those types of things. So are we a firm that people would be interested going to work for? Not just they want a job, but it's a passion and interest. So that was important. And then number three, there's only three, not four. I guess I'm not that good at CPA. I'm not good with numbers. I go from 2 to 4, huh? So number three, and this is what John said, and I agree. If my parents walked in the door of our office today, would they be proud of what they saw?
Wow.
And that's extremely important. I mean, meaning, are we treating people correctly? Are we treating our clients with the utmost respect, with our knowledge? Are we helping them be successful? But not only our clients, our people, like we just talked about, are our employees happy to be here? Are we doing everything we can to help them in their career paths? And in addition, not just that, but honestly, for the world, are we socially and ecologically friendly? Are we helping promote, good stewardship of both of those? And if so, I think my parents, and in his situation, his parents would be proud. And that's what I try to live by that since he brought that in. And I think it's great advice that I'll continue to try to follow.
Awesome. I mean, I think all those are very great points. And like I said, I think there's even more depth that you go into an article. So I definitely encourage everybody to head over to Accounting Today. And what's the title of the article that they can search for?
Um, Fortunately, I have it up on my screen over here because I probably couldn't have told you. The editor, I think, puts the title up there, but a down economy offers a great opportunities for CPAs to hit restart. And this was based on a conversation I had with John, and that conversation was him taking over managing partner in 2008, which is a down economy. So what I was trying to do in this article is relate to the experiences he had and the decisions he came to in 2008 to rebrand his firm, restructure his firm, and to come out the other side stronger. And I think we have that same ability today. There's so much we've learned in the last year that we could take this opportunity to expand on this knowledge we gained and come out stronger.
Absolutely. And I would say, before we wrap up, I mean, one of the other points in there that are questions that I wanted to ask that you touched on the article is when it comes down to CPAs and just that ability to develop the soft skills. I'm very curious on your experience. I mean, you talk to so many CPAs. I mean, you have your own firm, you're working with CPAs and you're working with business owners. How do you feel about the level of soft skills that CPAs have? It's like, do CPAs normally have the right level for, hey, what businesses demand of us these days?
So my answer to that in general is yes. CPAs. So I know there's this stereotypical CPA with the tape around their glasses and the pocket protector, or maybe that's just my age showing there. But the nerdy CPA sitting in the corner and just over the computer typing in numbers. That there's a need for people that just do that portion, I think. But that's not the most common skill I see. I really have seen a lot of great communication skills, and that's extremely important, especially today. And I keep saying especially today, but we're obviously in a unique situation. Sorry, I'm not making your podcast evergreen here if we're talking about what we're going on today, but that's important. And I see overall very good communication skills. Teamwork. We're all remote right now. That teamwork is important because you can get isolated, and I've seen pretty good aspects to that, and even flexibility. I mean, flexibility is with right now CPAs, the tax code changing every couple months. I mean, flexibility and adaptability is important, and I've seen. For the most part, they either know how to adapt to what's going on or realize that they need to bring in outside support to do that. So, problem solving overall. And I'm very fortunate. The firms we work with, our business comes from, have been very good firms, I think overall they have these skills, but it's always an area where people need to constantly. I mean, leadership.
Mhm.
Is leadership something you can learn? I think you can. In my opinion, leadership is a somewhat born skill that you can cultivate still. So I think everybody can be a leader at some level. I can ramble on this forever. Overall, I think yes. I think the soft skills are pretty strong in most of the CPA firms that I deal with, but everybody can always improve on those.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, Randy, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really enjoyed having you on, really enjoyed diving into the topics. And again, before we go, can you repeat your website so people can find you? They're looking for, an insight on those tax credits that they're qualified for, if they even are qualified for them.
Yep. It's Trimerit, TRI-MERIT.com. And hopefully I said .com last time because we used to be .net, and I think both of them probably work. But yeah, tri-merit.com. And again, every one of our employees is listed on there as well. So if anybody needs to look up, it's there. And, we're more than happy to discuss any potential opportunities out there that we might see for you.
Awesome. Well, Randy, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, this has been great. I look forward to continuing our discussion next week, and I appreciate you having me here. And by the way, great job. I've been listening to your shows, and I really enjoy them. So thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Finance and Accounting Show. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.